Hey, it's Pallavi Kashyap. Welcome to the podcast. Hello and welcome. In today's episode, I have my dear friend Kinter Pierre, who's joining me all the way from Grenada, a small island in the far south of the Caribbean. What Kinter does is twofold. She is a lifestyle coach and an investment migration consultant. She supports busy entrepreneurs and leaders, mostly women, with how to live a life of significance and self care, to avoid burnout and to promote emotional bravery, to rise through the mom guilt because it never goes away, to reignite their souls so that they can show up, for example, as better wives, better professionals. She is also a teen mentor, speaker, and a best selling author of an international anthology series, Embrace Your Imperfections. She has been mentored by legendary motivational speaker Dr. Les Brown and has been on stage with him in the US. That's a wow for me. She is on a mission to show others how to use their personal power and energy to design a life of significance that is true to who they are whilst building a legacy. So that was an awesome bio, Kinter. And with that, I want to welcome you to my show. Lovely having you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. How are you today?
I am good, and I had to do a little bit of deck up just to match up with your vibe, with your frequency, because the vibration is totally different with you.
Thank you. And also, there's a big time difference because I think it's still morning here, 11:30 a.m. But it's nighttime at where you are. What time is it now in India?
Exactly 9 p.m.
Wow. So big time difference.
Yeah, but that's how we operate if we are dealing with a global market. And
Exactly.
absolutely zero complaints about what I am doing. I'll be doing this even in the midnight, if there's a call. So I have absolutely no complaints about this.
Yeah.
So, Kinta, I have a few questions to ask you. My first question is like from the bio, you have it's like you're wearing different hats. You're an entrepreneur and you have so many other roles. But amongst all these roles, which one do you think is that fires you up the most?
Well, to be honest, they both do. Because you see, it does make my heart go pity patter to be able to help others to become more aware of who they truly are from a very deep place so that they can attain happiness and they can just have that lifestyle of significance and high vibration, right? But it also makes my heart happy to know that as a Caribbean girl, I have that freedom and that flexibility to travel the world to over 140 visa-free destinations. And I can
Wow.
also, use my business to make a global impact, which I am doing. So it makes me happy to be able to, help others, which is with the Grenada passport. We help them to get that citizenship so that they can also expand their horizons. They can have a business set up in the US with the E2 visa, and that's one of our biggest selling points. If you want to go to the US and you want to set up a business there and operate a business there, or even move your family and send your kids to school, then you can invest in my country's passport, which is Grenada. You can invest in that passport. That's your stepping stone. And once you do that, then you qualify to apply for that US E2 visa, so
Oh.
that that allows you to even have even more freedom and make that global impact. So you see why they both make me happy.
Yeah, and I think you're totally living that lifestyle because I can see that you're not just talking about it, you're living it because, yes, you have that kind of a lifestyle where you can travel. And like you mentioned, 104 countries you mentioned, right? I mean, that's anybody's
140.
dream. Yeah, 140, okay, that's like a
Yeah.
dream. Not anybody and everybody gets that opportunity. So yeah, lifestyle is I think that's important, and like I said, you're living it. You mentioned twofold in your business, like you have twofold perspective for your business, and somewhere I read that you take a stand for prosperity perspectives. So
Mhm.
what exactly is that? I was curious to know about what it is.
Yes. So prosperity and perspective. So let's separate them. So
Okay.
first of all, growing up on a small island, you tend to be very sheltered. You're not really exposed to the big wide world as a child. And also how we grew up, we didn't have a whole lot of internet, television, all these things. So it was even more limiting. But then as I started to play in my imagination, I always envisioned, something bigger and wider than that environment I was in. Right. So I kind of started to imagine just these playful, big buildings, more cars, more ocean, so much of that. And so that allowed me to kind of tap into something that we all have, which is prosperity perspectives, which is where we imagine more than what meets the eye. Yeah. So every time I encounter life or my friends, my family, my clients, I notice that sometimes life throws things at you and you need to sometimes step outside the box and see like a different way, find a different possibility. So that allows you to kind of go into that prosperity place which is where God wants us to be. So whether you believe in, Allah, Buddha, God, universe, whatever you say, it's the same thing. We have that in us, to be able to see that big picture, bigger than us, bigger than we can even see. But guess what? We imagine it. And so once it's real in your imagination, it's real. And perspectives, it's just all about keeping it, very optimistic. I mean, people talk about you should be positive, and that's great, but we all know that it's still the surface. Positivity is still surface. We have to go deeper. So that's why our perspectives need to be able to be prosperous if we want to go into that God way, that big way.
Oh, interesting. That's a very different way of saying it. So, like you said, you had a major shift from where you were growing, your life throughout, how you grew up, and today who you are, what you are. I see there has been a big difference. So, my question is, who were your teachers, or what kind of books, or who did you look up to, when you were growing up? Because this perspective, even in your, in your world, in your life, has been like a drastic change. So tell us who you get inspired from.
Sure. Well, growing up, again, because what I saw was very limited, in
Yeah.
such a small island, my biggest inspiration was Jesus, God, faith. And so, a lot of the principles and messages in the Bible always had me going up here in my imagination and just imagine it. I would imagine it because, again, it was not in my environment. For a long time as a child, I don't think I even looked at, I don't know. I mean, I looked up to my teachers at school. I also, in my neighborhood, I would, go to where the big houses are, just a different, like the contrast of what I was seeing. And as a teenager, I started to get into these motivational things. I would, see little messages from even Les Brown. So it was a dream to even be on stage with him, but we're going to talk about that. But little inspirational quotes and so on. Les Brown, and what's this other guy's name? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. What's his name again?
Tony Robbins, not Tony
It's
Robbins,
gonna
Michael.
come to me. It's gonna come to me. But that's pretty much it. So God, Jesus, the stories in the Bible, the principles, my teachers at school, and just motivational messages, that I would just see from time to time.
I don't know about, I just wanted to add this. I've been hearing from different people about, I mean, the most successful people have been going back to these kind of books. And I feel like for Indians, we have two major, not two, I think one major book, Bhagavad Gita, that's how it is called. It's like, it has everything how to live your life, so all the principles to live your life actually comes from those kind of scriptures. Those are like the real wisdom books. And even we have this yoga philosophy where it teaches you exactly, if you do XYZ, these are the things you need to do. If you deviate
Yeah.
from this is when you are going to lose control on your
Mm-hmm.
life. So yeah, so something like that. I have not read Bible, but maybe someday I'll surely read. And just about
Yeah.
the stories that you're talking about makes me feel, I'm like, that curiosity is building up. Like, what are those stories?
Yeah. And one of those stories, I'd say that just to keep it short, one of the stories was a story with David and Goliath. So for, I guess,
Hmm.
people who knows about Christianity, they may be able to relate.
I've heard
David
of
was
this
just a
story.
little shepherd boy. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was just a little shepherd boy, and Goliath was this big giant,
huge guy.
and
Yeah.
he was able to slay Goliath with his little slingshot, but with a whole lot of faith and trust in himself and that God can do it. So I think that kind of just opened up that, like, wow, like if this God is real, like, wow, then I guess I can be like that too. Like the little things I have, I can take it and turn it into something big. And it has been quite a journey, but like you said, yeah, the lifestyle shows, because you sometimes a lot of us, we can talk, I mean, we all talk, right? But it's all about walking your talk, and being your brand, being whatever you're teaching and whatever you're doing, you have to be that in order for, I guess, people to really take you seriously, respect you, see the result. You have to be that possibility.
Yeah, true, true. You mentioned about Les Brown, about the book, and Les Brown was also one of your teachers. I have not followed Les Brown that much, but I know he's a very good inspirational person. He's done a lot of motivational talks and all of that. So tell us a little bit about your little time
Yeah.
period where you collaborated. Just share a little bit about that.
Sure. So that story is quite interesting, actually. And I mean, some people might say, oh my God, was it coincidental? But there's no coincidence, right? It's all about our intentions, our desires, and just stepping into that and walking towards it. But so when COVID happened, believe it or not, I actually did not even know I would become a coach, or I would be walking in that path. I was in my business. I actually just stepped into doing my business on my own, because prior to that, I was with a company. So it was my year one of stepping into that new role as business owner. And, I think that is when I got my calling, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And, I felt it came as one word: transformation. And at the time, sometimes we as humans, we can really, our ego can really get to us, right? So I thought, oh my God, I need to help transform some people. That was my first thought. But my coach and I, we had a good laugh, because the good thing about having support, coaches, mentors, like, they really help guide you and shorten your learning curve. So my coach said, okay, Kinta, she listened to me, I poured my heart out. And she said, oh, you know what? I see what you mean. I see what you want. I see it. Let's make a plan. And really, the plan was that I had to do some transforming myself. And part of that transformation, I went and I did my coaching certification so I can get my skill set. And then after that, I felt like I was ready for some kind of deeper mentorship, but I had no idea what, where, how, right? So of course, I said, God, okay, what's next? I really don't know what's next. I'm feeling like this feels so good, but then I feel like, okay, I'm done with it. What do I do now? And I was on Clubhouse one morning, and then Les Brown was in that room, and he was calling on entrepreneurs, people who have a story, people who've gone through some things in life, some tough things, and maybe they want to learn how to tell their story, learn how to be able to help people with that very said things that they had to endure, right? And a lot of times the things that we go through, the adversity, it's because it's helping us become a better person so that we can show someone else how to do it, right? Who's in that situation.
Yeah.
So Clubhouse, I said, you know what? I felt it in my heart that yes, this feels like this is the next step. And I said yes. And that allowed me to have it was about 6 months mentorship. It was virtual because, everything at the time, everything was closed. So it was all online. And I got the opportunity to have him mentor me and a group as well. I was there with a group, and he focused a lot on the messenger and the message, but more so the messenger. So he helped us with, the principles that we need to become and be guided by in order to be this person, this powerful person we say we want to be. So we got some of his, a lot of the things that he would have learned in his, what is he, 70 something years now. So he helped us to transform our being, our doing of ourselves, and then also now to fine tune our message, to position ourselves, and to just be able to talk to people and also, talk their language, have them relate to us as we relate to them. And that led to a couple of opportunities, which was pretty cool. I was able to, share the stage with him virtually, online talking events, and also the big one in New York, August 2021, in person with him. And so that was really magical. And I tell my friends all the time, I said, it was not by coincidence. It was because I had an intention in my heart, and I just I allow God to just do his thing. Bring me to that place, let my intentions guide me, but also may I just walk in the path that destiny wants for me.
When you talk about intention, it's just like the thoughts you had, which became a reality. And we often say thoughts create your reality. So whatever you had been thinking from your childhood, or from the time you talked about your COVID journey, that time, again you had that intention. Again, that intention is a thought form. So that
Mhm.
actually manifested in the physical world. So that's the journey, right? So it's
Yes.
like yours is like an example or a story of that law of attraction series, where what you think, you manifest that in your reality.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that book was also a part of this.
Oh, the anthology series. Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I forgot that part of the question. Sorry about that. Okay. So, so again, that same community with Les Brown, there was a lady there, Jessica Moore. She invited some of us to join her in that book, in that series, because she felt like, we all have a story to tell. A lot of us, like, we go through all these experiences, but if it's one thing that's common throughout the world, not just one culture, we as women, we also feel a lot of shame in our stories. We're uncomfortable about it. We don't want anybody to know that we went through it, not realizing that the powerful thought is really that, you went through it, you overcame it, and it's your time to help someone else. So she invited us into that collaboration, and I accepted. And there's 3 series to that. And so that was pretty cool to be able to be vulnerable and, put some things in there that maybe that's I didn't really talk about to a lot of people. But just being able to show people that journey of, hey, I was this, self-doubting person from a limited environment with not much opportunity or confidence or anything, and journey on and transform into this powerful woman who owns her power and who is just stepping in faith and courage and doing the damn thing.
Wow, that's like a real story. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to imagine in my mind, from where and now to where.
Yeah.
That's quite inspirational. Kinter, I had this question, I asked this question to all my guests. For a leader, success, there is a definition for success. So for you, wherever you are, again, I also have now, after listening to so many definitions of success, now I know that the definition keeps changing. If you're a teenager, your definition of success would be something else. When you're like, let's say 30s, in your 30s or in your 40s. So accordingly, so whichever stage you are in, what do you think is your definition of success?
Yes. And you're so right about it, because it can be changing, because we are changing and we are
Yeah.
evolving. Um, but to me, success is a very personal thing. Yeah. And it looks differently for different people. But for me, it's being able to show up in my power,
Hmm.
you know, unapologetically, with an unwavering belief in myself. Yeah. And super faith, lots of courage,
Yeah, right.
and doing the things that I say I will do.
Hmm.
Yeah. And also having that heart to help others along the way. It's really simple, but every day it may look differently. So let's say maybe I have a goal of completing a project, and then when it's done, yay, I'm successful because I completed it, I did
Yeah.
it. But then, we're continuing the journey, right?
True.
We are on top of that mountain, so now it's to start another mountain. So I think it's this is that consistent self-belief, unwavering, and just that energy. Well, the energy is important. The energy has to be aligned with
Yeah.
God's energy, I like to say, in the sense that, okay, if you say you want this, then you're energetically, what you're doing, what you're feeling, what you're saying, everything has to align with that energetic vibration, or else it won't happen, right?
True, true, true.
So success is just really showing up, owning your power, you know, um, staying at it. Having recently I had a workshop, and we were talking about that. My coach was saying she doesn't like plan B, and I agree. Having a plan A and no plan Bs, because it's a journey. So you have a plan A, and you should stick with your plan A. You shouldn't have plan B, C, D. But again, different things work for different people, different folks for different strokes. So I mean, I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I think going all in what you want,
Yeah.
and expecting to receive what you want. It may not be in the same way, but having that law of expectation, working with the law of expectation so that you can manifest exactly what it is that you want.
Yeah, just I wanted to add up on what you said about goals. In fact, I also read something yesterday about goals. So there was one line where it says, have goals, but be flexible in the approach. Don't be very stringent. So C is the end point. So I have to just travel A, B, and then reach C. You have to be
Yeah.
flexible. Maybe you have to turn around, or maybe you have to dig a hole, or whatever it is. But have a
Mm-hmm.
goal that gives you a direction. But at the same time, be flexible, because nothing is permanent. Nature changes,
Mm-hmm.
seasons change, everything is built on changes. So you can't be having a goal which is like so rigid. When you just
Yeah,
said your story, it connected me to that part.
I agree. And I like what you
Yeah.
said about you, because the thing is, what you said about nature, that's powerful, because in nature, for me, I always like to learn from nature. In nature, things there, it's always changing, ever changing. And so
Absolutely.
that's why also you look at nature, you look at the different seasons, leaves drop, the fruits
Yeah.
bear, the fruits don't bear, like the weather, it's amazing, all the different changes. And that's why some wise person said that, when you're asking for something, sometimes God doesn't want to hear the how. That's left up to God, the how. So we kind of flex into the non-linear things, because it's easy to have linear things like ABC, like you said,
Yeah.
but it's in the non-linear. Once we can lean into that, then I
Yeah.
think that is what makes us powerful, and eventually we will find the success that we are all looking for.
Yeah, interesting. When we talk about all these things, we also need to have a certain kind of mindset to even accept or absorb this kind of information, this kind of knowledge, because this is not this what schools have taught us, or how we have been learning in our schools or colleges, or how we learned throughout. So I wanted to ask you about something about mindset. I know you have a different mindset compared to many people around. So tell us something about how to develop a positive mindset, or what
Yeah.
keeps you going, because everything that you talk about is so inspirational, and there's a lot of hard work that has gone into who you are today. So tell us, how will you inspire people who are listening to this podcast, for example?
Well, those trendy words you hear out there, that mindset is everything, well, it really is. And I think, Well, for me, and again, my whole brand is all about mindset and lifestyle because that is what it takes. Yeah. I think having, first and foremost, having a spiritual relationship, having a your spirituality matters. And I think it goes hand in hand with the mindset. Because in order for us to truly thrive off of, faith and thinking big things and thinking outside the box, we have to be able to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And that is where the spirituality comes in. So, in order to have that positive, prosperous prosperity mindset, we have to be close. We have to be close with ourselves and God, the God in us, whatever. I mean, everybody's different, but whatever you call it, your intuition, whatever it is, you have to be close to that, and you have to stay open. So what you were saying just now, being flexible, we must stay open because every change is always happening. Evolution is always happening. And so once we are open to change, open to surprises, open to experiences, open to experimenting, then that makes us more adaptable to having that thriving mindset, and the things we do every day, having that routine of spiritual food and mental food. For me, that's big because the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is prayer, affirmation, talk to God, whatever you want to call it. But I feed my mind is the first thing that I do. Of course it connects with my heart, but the mind, because imagine you having, let's say you wake up, everything's great. You just jump right into your day. But then at the middle of the day, something pops up, something big, something huge, something that's taking you down. Now, if you didn't prepare your mind in the beginning of the day, then chances are it's gonna be much harder for you to fight that thing, overcome that thing, or do whatever it takes in terms of your thoughts or your actions in order to overcome. So I think it's just so important to keep that mind fit. John Assaraf has this thing called neurogym.
Neurogym, yeah.
I love it because it goes back to show how important it is to keep our minds fit, and that stamina and longevity, having all the right things there. It makes all the difference in the world because as someone says, as a man thinketh, so he is, right? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, whatever you do early morning after you wake up, it's something similar to what I think most of the leaders in their own spaces, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, just tame your mind for the first 15 minutes, or let's say for the first 1 hour of the day, and the entire day is set. If you
Yeah.
have a very stressful day also, for example, like I wake up and I do my prayers, I do my meditation and all of that. So that's an additional thing for me. So when I do that, because my body is calm, my mind is calm. So if there's something, a stressful situation in the middle of the day, but I have the ability, or I can handle it. I will not, my emotions will not go that way, my thoughts will not go that way. So I'll
Yeah.
be at least calm. So yeah, it's so important, and more people are getting to know this, and it's becoming a habit. Rightly said, I think at least if you're not aware, we have to consciously do it, at least till the time it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
You already mentioned some of your good practices, but I always have this question, like, what are the top three things, or three best practices in your life that you do every day that keeps you going? I think one you mentioned about, early morning, taming your mind. What other two?
Yeah. So I think another one is having, again, it comes back to the mind. That goes to show you how mindset is everything. Visualizing. So apart from feeding the mind, visualizing my goals, my future, the things that I want, the things, the visions that I have, putting the picture, keeping the picture in there, having the movie and just keeping it there ever so often, flashing into it, writing down these things every day. That's a powerful practice. And then I think another one, I mean, there's so many, but it's hard to find three. But I think the third one I would say is the food that I put in my body.
Okay.
because there's a lot of people out there talking about there's certain vibration in the foods. Did you
That's
see
true.
that, Tom? I think
Yeah,
Stormy
that's true.
Wellington had this thing talking about low vibration and high vibration foods, right? But anyways, I am very intentional about putting healthy foods in my body. I try to work with the 80-20 rule. You know, in my journey so far, I've had some ups and downs trying to see what really works. There was a time when I was very extreme, but I realized no, no, no. You know, this needs to be fun. It can't just be so strict and so, closed. But food, in the Caribbean, we grow a lot of our local food. So for me, that has always been a habit of mine from since I was born. Always to have lots of fruits and vegetables in our diets. So yeah, I would say food intake is a big one, and also the way I eat. So for example, my go-to most mornings is a smoothie. Well, I
Okay.
have like tea, like those. I think in India, I don't know if you guys do it. We have so with the peel from the orange, for example,
Okay.
you peel an orange and we take that peel and we let it dry. So we
Yeah,
hang it
we
up
do that.
somewhere where it's dried, and then so for me, ever since I'm a little girl, I've had that tea early in the morning. So a lot of times I make that tea. I have fruits, but I also have a lot of smoothies where I can put my sea moss and all the good stuff. And I think that keeps my energy high, and that really helps me. So when I have low days, I'm able to allow my food to help my brain to kind of, to
Yeah,
push me.
awesome practices, and it shows you're so lovely and so gorgeous, and not an ounce of fat here and there. So it's the
Thank you.
choice of food. It's the choice
But
of food.
a lot of women, there's a lot of women that wants to be skinny. I actually don't want to be skinny. Like, I'm slim by nature because of my parents. They are all slim by nature. But I tell you, even as a teenager into my early 20s, I struggled a lot because I used to take these I didn't like my skinny frame, so I would take these supplements that makes me eat more so I can put on some weight. So it's interesting how when a lot of women would say, "Oh my God, you're the perfect size," but then
Yeah.
sometimes you're like kind of trying to like balance off. Yeah, I don't want to, because the foods that I eat aren't very fatty. Except, well, I love avocados, but like, it's lean food, so I have to
Right.
also try to put in the fats, to keep that balance, because again, I don't
Okay,
like
I,
skinny.
I got the secret today. I got the secret today. It's the food. It's not working out because I thought you're athletic, you work out, you run and all of
Oh well,
that. But
yes,
do you do
I
that as
do,
well?
but I think it's the food.
Oh, it's
Because
the
I
food,
went
yeah.
to Greece earlier this year, and I met a woman who is in her 70s, I think. She's a fitness instructor, and she looks amazing. And you know what she told me? She said, "Kinter, most people don't notice, but your abs are made in your kitchen." She said,
True.
"Your ideal body is made in the kitchen. Yes, we work
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do these things, but the food has a big part to play." I mean, they all have a part, but for
Yeah.
me, because even there are times when I don't work out, I may go for a walk or a little run if I haven't done like a full workout, but it's in my food. I use my food. So I would say, okay, you know what? This week I didn't work out so much. I'm gonna make sure my food is on point.
Got those tips, got the secrets.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask about, we've talked a lot about mindset and everything related to that. At times we do face challenges in our life. So is there any challenge, or what has been the most difficult challenge for you, and how did you overcome that challenge, so that people listening to this can draw some inspiration from that story? So if you would like to share something on that.
Yeah. Well, there are always challenges. I mean, I think sometimes I make it look easy, but it's not. So, well, I think the biggest challenge, I have to constantly be refining my mind. I get it comes back to mind, because when you're born in an environment that is very limited and had a lot of scarcity, it really takes you more effort than the average person who maybe were born in another, in a different environment. So it takes a lot from me mentally to always be, having that, maintaining or building or adding to that unwavering belief in myself. Because, yeah, limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, oh, it comes from me every day, every day. But again, because I have these practices, which is like visualization and so on, I really hold on to that. But that has been one of my ongoing challenges, ongoing all the time. Another challenge, well, was it one challenge? I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
if you,
that's one of my biggest, believe it or not. People think like, oh, you're so positive. That's why I'm so positive. Because, there was somebody I heard say, a good lawyer is not a good lawyer until he wins a case that is so hard to win that it takes something from him beyond his lawyer skill sets, right? Or a good doctor isn't a good doctor until he can bring somebody back from the dead. But so the point of that is I have to dig so deep every day for that confidence, for that motivation, for that high vibration to continue on, to press onwards because it's hard. A lot of things come to me and tell me, oh, well, I can't do this, or, I came from this, so why do I think I can go and do that? So it's really, I think that's one of the ongoing challenges that has never stopped.
yeah, but like you said, you make it look so easy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's
uh,
not.
Kinter, your brand, what is the mission of your brand?
So the mission of my brand is to touch as many lives, especially women, show them how to live a life of significance and self-care. And I say significance and self-care because I think in life we have to be intentional. We can't just, live anyhow and let the trade winds take us wherever it blows. No, we have to know exactly what it is that we want and who we are. That's two big things. What we want, who we are, and so that we can design the exact life that we wish for, right? And so for me, that's my mission, to help women see that vision, be clear on that vision for themselves, and to live that life of significance and to take care of themselves. Because the thing is, for a long time, the people wore this badge of honor of like putting people before ourselves. Have you ever been to, like, I think I see it at funerals a lot. Have you ever been to a funeral where people say, oh, he was such a good man or a good woman, always put people before himself? Do you hear that?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes me cringe because I feel like that's so toxic. We have to put ourselves first. And if you can't put yourself first, or you can't fill your cup first before giving on to others, then you would always be in that place of lack, or you would always be struggling with boundaries, or you would always be putting yourself last. And that's going to cause you a life that is not significant and not self-care. So my mission is really for women to live their lives in an abundant way, design it based on who they are, what they want, and take care of themselves, and to show others the possibility of doing just that.
Interesting. I had a question on legacy, like how do you want to be remembered? As I think this question kind of connects to what you already
Yeah.
explained. If that is it, we'll just move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely it. And then the part with the global citizenship, I would want as much people in the world to have that second passport lifestyle, so that they can have that other option to travel to all these beautiful destinations beyond their imagination, and to do business, and to also do good work in the world.
So a lot of nuggets, a lot of gems, a lot of inspirational stories and bits, and overall your whole story is so inspirational. So for anybody who's listening to this episode, I also have this on my YouTube. So for those people, our viewers, where do you think they can reach you at the best place where you are most active always?
Yeah, the best place to reach me is on Instagram. I have my link tree there, so you can click on there if you want to have a call with me, meet with me about coaching, about retreats, about speaking or workshops. Also, if you want to invest in a Caribbean passport so you can get your E2 business visa to the US so you can move your family, and as well as my website. So it's just my name. So Kinter Pierre. And then my website is www.kinterpierre.
Okay, I'll also have this in the description, so don't worry about that. For anybody
Okay,
who
great.
just wants, yeah, we'll also have the links below. So that was all about from my end. So my last question is, Kinter, is there something that I should have asked you and I have not, because you had been so inspirational throughout. I myself can't imagine that story from where a small island you came from, and today the person that I see you, it's I won't say it's like a 180-degree shift, it's like 360-degree shift almost. So is there
Yeah.
anything I should have asked you which I missed out or did not? And if you want to add on, it's back to you.
Well, I think it's fine. You did great. You asked the questions that I think would resonate most with your audience. But I guess my last words can be that, in life, especially as women, but I know you have men on there too. We came here for obviously greater purpose than ourselves. So, so it will be wise, because wisdom is priceless. It would be wise to really, as you think about your dreams and goals, you get clear on who it is you are. And by that, I don't mean whether you're a doctor, teacher, entrepreneur, who you are on a soul level, you know, what you stand for in the world, who you are being versus what you're doing. I mean, they both matter, but I think we should always continually take stock of what it is we want, who we are being, what we're doing to lead to the life that we truly want. Because Elena Cadone always talk about the choices that we make every day. It can either be building our empires or destroying our empires. So we just want to be very intentional, and so that we are choosing correctly every day. And it's so important to put yourself first. I'm telling you. When I started putting myself first, my life took a turn for the greater, So put yourself first and just be intentional and always believe in yourself. Have faith, like like a mustard seed, as that's the saying. And yeah, do great things in the world, because it's bigger than us, and we are here for so much reasons, more than more than the vanity and more than the things that we get to have and enjoy.
Thank you so much, Kinter, for your time, for all these nuggets. And I think if I have to take back three tips or what were the most important things from this episode, that would be intentional living, keep yourself first, and the third would be, I think, always building your mindset, because it's an everyday work. You can't just take a pause or you can't rest for a day, because yeah, mind functions every day, so we need to keep building, working on it every day. And before I leave you, Kinter, I have this intention of doing another episode with you. And for that, I want to specifically have this topic, surrender. And let's see when we can do this next. So before we do that and before we meet again, so here's a small bye from my end. And once again, thank you so much for coming and sharing all these nuggets with my viewers. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. And it's one of my favorite topics, so I would love to. So we'll keep in touch about that. All right. Have an amazing day.
You too.
Mwah. Lots
Bye.
of love from the
Bye.
Caribbean.